Now, let's dive into Thursday. What's more likely here? Week 18, Week 18, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals end the regular season, a game with huge implications for both teams, can decide many things, and we'll dive into the playoff path tomorrow, but this game is, well, as intriguing as they come. There's a reason that it's in prime time on a Saturday. Joe Burrow comes to town. He said he's not going to get the MVP, but everybody's arguing that he should be, Terrell Austin included. Well, let's dive into it. What's more likely? Week 18, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals. What do we got?
Yeah, I actually want to start right there where you left off with Joe Burrow. What's more likely? The Steelers hold Joey Burrow to under 300 yards, or Russell Wilson throws for over 300 yards, something he's only done once since joining the Steelers. It just so happened to be against this Cincinnati Bengals team.
Yeah, I'm going to go Russ throwing over 300 yards. So a couple of things. One, holding Joe Burrow under 300 yards, whether you have a good day or a bad day defensively, is as difficult of a thing to do as you could do in the NFL. I got a hard time believing the Steelers are going to be able to do that. Even if the defense plays well, I have a hard time believing the Steelers are going to be able to do that. Russ throwing for over 300 yards isn't the craziest thing in the world. And you could throw for over 300 yards and your offense could not really look that great. You just threw for over 300 yards. I think that's a possibility. I expect the Steelers offense to bounce back in some way. Like, the Steelers offense wasn't atrocious all season long. They've just been atrocious the last 3 weeks. So you got it. They're still there. The pieces are still intact. You just got to be able to utilize them. I would say throwing for 300 yards is more likely for Russell Wilson, only because in this one, if you're going to score 40 points, if the final score is going to be 40 to 44, you're going to have to at least try to throw for 300 yards.
Yeah, the funny thing is this is going to be a big week that everybody's going to get excited about Pat Freiermuth and excited about Najee Harris out of the backfield and Jaylen Warren out of the backfield, because that's what's open. That's what the Bengals leave open. That's what the scheme allows you to do, is those short passes and kind of kill them with paper cuts. That's how Russell Wilson got 400 plus yards against him last time. It's probably how he's going to do that again this time.
Yes. And on the other side of that, the Steelers defense I have higher hopes for, but those higher hopes don't mean that Joe Burrow isn't the greatest fourth MVP candidate in the history of the NFL. Yeah, Saquon. I'm still going Saquon.
I don't disagree with that, but I still don't think he's fourth. I think there's somebody behind him, and that somebody also plays in the AFC North.
Who would be behind him? Wouldn't it be Josh Allen? You saying Joe Burrow's ahead of Lamar Jackson?
I'm saying I would put Joe Burrow ahead of Lamar Jackson.
But realistically in the voting, it turns out.
Yeah, because the voting is awful.
Yeah.
The voting's discounting the fact that, yeah, Saquon's been great, but Derrick Henry's also right behind him. So,
yeah, Derrick Henry ain't doing what Saquon's doing. But I agree with you. I think Joe Burrow's crazy right now. But when it's all said and done, when the dust settles, he'll be fourth.
Fair enough.
In the votes. He'll be fourth in the votes.
That's a longer conversation for a different type of podcast. But let's go over to the next. What's more likely? What is more likely in this one? TJ Watt catches Trey Hendrickson in sacks. He needs 2.5. Or Cam Hayward hits the 10-sack plateau for the fourth time in his career. He'll need 2.
This is tough. I'm going to go Cam. I am going to go Cam. I think TJ's hurt right now, and he's not really 100%. I don't know how effective he's going to be. I expect it to get better week by week, but at the same time, where are we this week? I don't know. I just know that TJ doesn't really look 100% out there. Cam, on the other hand, Cam's been a monster. 10 sacks is just crazy to get at any season from a defensive tackle, let alone a guy that is battling Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton, Patrick Queen coming up the middle with the Landon. There's a lot of names out there fighting for sacks. I would go Cam in this one. I think a Cam 2-sack game is always a possibility. A TJ 2-sack game is easy, but not when he's hurt. So I would guess, especially in a game where if you take the lead, you're not playing these guys. And I think early Cam could do it quicker than TJ can, simply because of health.
All right, I like that one. Let's go to the next one. What's more likely? Justin Fields scores a touchdown because he doesn't have an injury designation going into this one, or the defense or special teams score a touchdown in this one.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go Justin. I am going to go Justin. I think Justin gets a little bit involved in this one offensively. I think there's a possibility that the Steelers are kind of tired of Russell Wilson stinking in the red zone and saying, well, Justin's a lot better at this, so let's put him out there. I think this is a Justin. I'm not going to say Justin heavy because it's weird to say Justin heavy if he has 6 plays, but 6 plays is a lot for a backup quarterback. Like, that's a ton of plays for a guy who is coming off the bench when your starting quarterback is still healthy and the guy. So I would go, I'm expecting 6, maybe 7 plays from Justin Fields. I could see at least 1 or 2 of them being in the red zone. I would go Justin Fields. I'm not down on the special teams. There's always the possibility of a special teams touchdown. And to be very honest, you go back and watch some film, you go back and take some notes on some stuff, just pay attention. You don't even have to watch film. Just go pay attention to how many times the Steelers punt team has forced a fumble and the team that they forced it on got it back. There are a lot. Mark Robinson is a fumble machine this season. Every time he hits you, you fumble the football. You never know. If a bounce goes their way, somebody picks it up and they get some space, that's a touchdown. So that's a much closer one than you'd think. But I'm going to go Justin Fields just simply because what's more likely? I mean, it's more likely they're going to use him in the red zone than a bounce is going to go their way.
All right, let's go to the next one with a wholesale look at this Saturday's slate. What's more likely, the Steelers win by multiple scores Saturday night, or the Ravens lose to the Browns to kick off Week 18?
Yeah, I mean, that is never going to happen. Bailey's happy, man. Shout out. Wish him nothing but the best. I remember meeting him at the combine. He was a very nice kid. He's not like, I think pigs might fly before the Ravens lose to the Browns in Week 18. It's just not going to happen. I would say the Steelers winning by 2 touchdowns or 2 scores, whatever, is not likely, but is 100 times more likely than the Ravens losing to the Browns in Week 18 with the play. It's not like the Ravens are It's not like the Ravens are the Ravens from 5-6 weeks ago. It's the Ravens right now who are the hottest team in the AFC, and the Browns are the Browns, man. They had fun. They beat the Steelers. It's been all downhill before and since that moment.
Yeah, that would also mean them sweeping the Ravens this year, which would
never happen.
A crazy footnote in an insane season.
Yes. And I think the Ravens acknowledge that. I think I read somewhere that the Ravens are talking revenge, and at that point, it's over. Like, it's over. It is the easiest bet you'll make all week. I don't know what the spread is. I think it's like 18.5. Vegas always knows what they're talking about. Yeah.
Let's go into some listener what's more likely's here in the comment section, starting with Carl Spackler, who says, what's more likely, we win multiple playoff games this year, or in exactly 1 year we are having the same conversations and being in the same boat?
I think I think it's more, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry that I'm going to say this. I think it's more likely that in a year from now, the Steelers are in the same boat and we're having the same conversations. I think the biggest concern surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers right now is that they're going to win a playoff game, and that's going to end the conversation of they haven't won a playoff game in 7 years, and then they're going to get beat pretty badly in the second round by either Kansas City or Buffalo. And at that point, you're just not in a spot where things are better. They're just different. That's all it is. I think it's going to be really difficult to swallow when people realize that winning one playoff game and then losing the second one sucks just as bad as losing the first one. And I hate to say it, but I think that's more likely for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, you can make some changes. I think the quarterback's one of them. I think the growth of the offensive line could be a massive one. And I think if you get a wide receiver, a lot of things could change. But if I had to guess what's more likely, that's what's more likely.
Let's jump over to Jeff Cole, who says, what's more likely? Russ is afraid to turn it over and takes more sacks on Saturday, or he lets it go and throws for a season high in passing yards this Saturday.
Oh, over 4. I think he threw for over 400 yards against Cincinnati last time.
He did.
I would say sacks are higher than throws for a season high in yards, simply because the offensive line is not playing as well as they were playing the last time they played the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals defense is playing much better than they were the last time that they played the Bengals. And Russ is taking a lot of sacks right now. Half of them are him, half of them are the offensive line. It's just not a good mix either way. I don't think he throws for over 400 yards in this one. I think that's very difficult to do, especially in an offense that is right now very stale and needs some spark. So I would go sacks. It's another brutal one, man. You guys are killing me.
Let's go to this one. It's not going to get much better. Loswald
Awesome.
says, what's more likely? Minka gets another Pro Bowl vote next year, or we'll get another pick by that same time.
I think Minka gets another pick. I think the picks come. Minka's acknowledged that the splash has not been there, but he's also talked, and I've talked to other people who have acknowledged that, he is putting a top on things. He's putting a lid on things. It's not creating much opportunity for him. I would say what's more likely, Minka gets another pick by the end of next season, even if it's just one. I do think that he gets one.
Let's go over to Darren, who says, what's more likely to happen first? Another Darnell Washington touchdown or another Minka Fitzpatrick interception?
Oh, this is a good question. This is much closer than you think it'd be. I'm gonna go Minka interception. Joe Burrow plays hero ball sometimes. I think Joe Burrow's phenomenal, but I'm not gonna say that he's, not. He could throw an interception. He could throw 2 interceptions. He could also throw for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns with those 2 interceptions. Let's not act like he can't, but those 2 interceptions could be there. I would go another Minka pick. If anybody's going to take a risk on playing Minka, it's going to be Joe Burrow, maybe outside Josh Allen. But those 2 would be the ones that you go, they'll throw it to Minka because they're not afraid of Minka. I think it could lead to an interception. I would go Minka interception. What's more likely to happen first? I don't know if Darnell is going to touch the end zone again this season. I don't know if Minka's going to touch the football this season, but I just feel like that one's more likely than Darnell.
All right, let's go over to Wesley Reed, who says, hello from being stationed in South Korea.
Hey.
First time able to catch a live stream since finding the pod, but what's more likely? Mike Hilton gets a pick 6 or George Pickens gets 2 touchdowns and 150 plus yards?
George Pickens gets 2 First off, shout out, man, and thank you very much for your service. Very appreciated. George Pickens gets 2 touchdowns and 150 yards. 100%. We just talked about an interview that went south. George and Russ might have like a rift. It's not a real rift, but it's a media created. We're talking about this rift, which means that they are going to be locked into each other in Cincinnati or against Cincinnati. 150 yards is very doable. 2 touchdowns, difficult but doable. I would say that one. Pick 6 on Mike Hilton would be tough to swallow, especially because Mike Hilton loves to talk smack, loves to talk some trash on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I love Mike Hilton. He was my favorite player in the locker room when he was in Pittsburgh, but he's good for some trash talk. I would go George Pickens, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I'd feel pretty good about that in this scenario.
Yeah, especially considering there's also a nice little nugget here. Pickens 100 yards away from another 1,000-yard season. That's going to be in the back of his mind. And that's going to be in the back of Russ's mind in a game that doesn't have as many implications. And who knows, by the time they even kick the ball off, could have no implications for the Pittsburgh Steelers side of things.
Let me ask you a question. You think George got snubbed from the Pro Bowl?
No.
No, me neither.
I think you got to stay healthy to go to the Pro Bowl. And there's only
Jared
4
Jeudy
spots.
was close, but
yeah.
I think if George stays healthy and scores more touchdowns, got to score some touchdowns. Yeah. I think he gets in there.
Let's go over to Ricky, who says, what's more likely? Russell Wilson leads us to multiple deep playoff runs, or he signs a multi-year deal and we stay in football purgatory because of another declining 35-plus-year-old.
Man, this is really what we're doing next year. You guys know the answer. What's more likely is Russ signs a multi-year deal and the Pittsburgh Steelers do nothing with it over the next 2 or 3 seasons. That's what's more likely. I think Russ has shown his hand. I think we're at the point right now where you have to acknowledge that Russ is 2-3 against winning teams. It's not looking good. The Steelers don't really have a clear plan at wide receiver or running back moving forward, which means that all the weapons around him are in question. I mean, it's it's not looking good for the Steelers over the next couple of years. I think their best opportunity was this season, and they missed it because of the wide receiver situation. But I would guess if I had to pick what's more likely, it sucks to say. The Steelers sign a multi-year deal with them, but they don't do much with it.
Let's close it out with Tank So Funny, who says, what's more likely, we draft a wide receiver or a lineman in 2025?
Oh, wide receiver. Wide receiver. The Steelers don't have room for a lineman at this point. Like, they got their 2 tackles, whether you believe in Broderick or everybody believes in Broderick or not. They have their 2 tackles. They have their 2 guards. That maybe they draft another guard at some point, but I don't think that they need one right now, maybe next season. And then they have their center. Their offensive line's here. It's just got to develop. That's the thing. That's where the Steelers are at offensive line wise, is they have the pieces. It's now time for the pieces to grow. And they've invested in those pieces. So that's the best part. Is it sucks to have a bad offensive line right now, but it also comes with the understanding of there are 2 first-round tackles, a second-round center, a 4th-round guard that looks really good, and a veteran who's won a Super Bowl that you'll replace with somebody higher in the next 2 years. And that's a good place to be with your offensive line. You just got to put it together. I would say drafting a wide receiver is very high on the Steelers list this season.